freedom is on the other side of thought. What do I mean by that? Well, every single day as human beings, we have between 40,000 and 70,000 thoughts on average. Now, it's believed that that can be even higher for some. You know, I'm sure when I was working in London, I had about 1 million thoughts a day. You know? So, if you're able to think about 40 to 70,000 different things in a day, right? You have 70,000 thoughts. Then imagine how full your mind is every hour. Imagine how full your mind is every 10 minutes. Imagine how full it is every minute with thought. Now, when there's so much thought present, essentially that thought is preventing us from experiencing the truth of our nature. And what I mean by the truth of our nature is that if you are able to observe your thoughts, then suddenly you realize that you're not your thoughts. And if you're not your thoughts, then who are you? You know, what's beyond thought? Who is the observer to the thoughts? The person that we usually call I. You know, I am thinking. Well, who is the I beyond the thought? I am feeling. Who is the I beyond the feeling? I am moving. I am taking action. I am... Who is the I that is aware of all of those experiences, but is not the experience itself? Now, this is what got me thinking and reflecting and self-inquiring all those years ago when I began meditating. You know, and so what I found is the more that I became curious to that, the less thoughts I was thinking, the more likely I was able to experience being the observer versus the thought. Does this make sense to everyone? Now, what was beautiful is that as I got closer to going beyond thought, I noticed that in that space of the observer, in that space of infinite awareness, in that space where no thought was present, where there was nothingness, I felt a deep sense of peace for the first time in my life. I felt a deep sense of calm beyond thought. And so beyond thought is true freedom. And I'm not talking about freedom from the external, I'm talking about a deep inner freedom. A freedom that is only present when thought no longer exists. When thought finally ceases. Now, how do we get there? Well, like I said, we have 70,000 thoughts in a day on average. Maybe a little bit less for some, maybe a little bit more, or a lot more for others. But the key to going beyond that is to reduce the amount of thought that you have in your mind in any moment. Now, this is why for anyone who's practiced meditation or breath work, or anyone who's followed a spiritual path of any kind, you'll recognize that, you know, some spiritual practices uses a mantra. Some spiritual practices uses breath work. Some spiritual practices uses body awareness, like mindfulness. And all of those experiences, all they are doing is they are narrowing your attention to one single thought. If you do breath work, the only thing you're thinking is about the breath, the in and the out, one thought. So instead of 10,000 thoughts, 20,000 thoughts, you're down to a single thought. And guess what? When you're down to a single thought, you're one thought away from freedom. I.e., you're one thought away from going through that gateway and that porthole to infinite awareness. How awesome is that? How awesome is that? Now, mindfulness, if you practice mindfulness, body awareness, focus on one body part at a time. You know, if you do a body scan, one body part equals one thought, and it takes you beyond the 5,000, 10,000 thoughts. And it's only one thought. And when you're at one thought, you're only one thought away from breaking through and going into infinite awareness, into consciousness, into what I describe as the true essence of who you are as a human being. How amazing is that? So one thought, if we can narrow our attention and our focus and bring our concentration to one thought, then we have a great chance of going beyond that thought and experiencing true inner freedom. Even if that's only for a millisecond. You know, even if that was for a millisecond, which it was for me when I first began. You know, it took me 2 years of meditation to then experience that moment of nothingness where no thought was present, and I felt the deepest, most joyous peace that I've ever felt. And then I thought, wow, that's amazing, there's no thought. Damn, and then it started again. You know, the thought was back running. That was amazing. There's the thought's back, and then we have to go again. You know, so this is a practice. This takes patience. I've been meditating now for 10 years, and I still only experience no thought, you know, after like going into meditation for a period of time. I sometimes don't experience it. I sometimes have days where I experience it a lot. That's more common now. I have moments where thought ceases to exist, and I just feel a deep sense of peace, joy, and enthusiasm for life, because I feel so connected in that space of infinite awareness, of consciousness. And that's what connects every single one of us. Every single one of us, that awareness, that I am beyond thought, is within every single one of us and every single thing. You know, the plants, the trees, the wind, the air, you, me, your partners, your kids. We are all connected through this consciousness. We are all connected through this infinite space of awareness which runs through us all. And like I said, how we access it is going beyond thought. And the easiest way to get there is by drawing your attention to one single thought in the first place. Because in that one single thought, we're only one thought away from freedom versus the 70,000 others that we think in our days.